bit there. So basically, I didn't do my presentation in an orthodox way. I didn't put an abstract. Instead, I put an introduction, right? So I'll just read my introduction. So as I said, the presentation is titled Emergent African Cosmology and Astrotheology. And the premise really was to speak about how people started worshiping what is called gods. It's a word that I'm always fighting with, because I believe that in Africa, especially in the south below Congo, we do not really have what is in the West they call gods, but we have natural energies that are called archetypes, I think, in other languages, but they are not gods in the Western sense. But it's something that will come up as I read. Okay. So this presentation is called for Sacred Dialogues Part 2, Africa Center for Intangible Phenomena Studies Workshop, in collaboration with Durban University of Technology's Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. So the theme for the workshop is Bridging Worlds, Integrating Ancestral African Healing Wisdom with Contemporary Practices, right? So as a collective effort aimed at rooting out foreign or intrusive influences that are supposed to civilize Africans, while their real effects tend to be harmful to our well-being. Decolonial activists and institutions such as ourselves are engaged in a life or death confrontation. Quality of life is conditional. This means that ways of knowing and ways of being are dependent on specific natural as well as unnatural preconditions. As soon as such conditions are compromised, violated, or unmet, disharmony, imbalance, social ills, nervous conditions, and even harsh and frequent death becomes the norm. For the colonized, there is no such thing as a normal life. The conditions of captivity make it a misnomer. To decolonize our ways of seeing the world, as well as how we are seen in the world, requires a radical transformation of everything. People have heard of the phrase, decolonize everything. It may sound ironic that we are part of a movement or organization called Africa Center for Intangible Phenomena Studies. Highlight the word intangible. Yet we are working towards realizing tangible or material changes in our lives and our communities. The African people who have become anesthetized or made insensitive through many forms of psychological, physical, emotional, racial, and even metaphysical violence are the same people whose ancestors created the first calendars, universities, seeded the first spiritual disciplines, the first shrines to ancestors, as well as to terrestrial and celestial energy forms. These so-called wretched of the earth, or izimpabanga zomhlaba, are agents of their own transformation. The people that hold the highest potential to restore the earth to its natural settings. The ancient codes we hold in our DNA are the seeds of a more organically inclusive and regenerative spiritual life, and are also the pathways to the whole planet's well-being. If indeed it is true that Africa civilized the whole world before, through sound, philosophy, sciences, and vital technologies, there is nothing holding us back from doing it again and again and again. Nothing except ourselves. Can move on to the next page. Ms. Lungu. Okay. So what is African cosmology? Now, to deal with the title of my presentation. Cosmology can be defined as the various ways that people develop a belief about themselves, their environment, and the universe. It involves the establishment of systems, observances, ways of knowing and being in the world. And in the African sense, it also involves holding the knowledge of the interconnectedness of everything. African cosmology speaks of time, space, and land as a symbiotic whole. A pluriversity or multiverse of influences. Pluriversity meaning plural universes. African wisdom holders and custodians of institutions, territories, and governments cannot afford to philosophize in a vacuum or in ivory towers without dealing decisively with questions of land dispossession, requiring a deep understanding of multiple dimensions beyond our three-dimensional reality. Where am I? Reality. Adequately initiated monarchs or amakosi are atwasi. Healers, educators, and leaders of society should know about this, but where would they gain such knowledge when many institutions do not teach it? Indeed, many educated Africans are alienated from land, from traditional institutions which in turn have been corrupted by politics and capital or materialism. Without this intangible information, which includes an intuitive understanding of cosmology, of cosmogony, and natural laws, many influential members of African societies are unsettled and unsettling. And this perpetuates the deep-seated disorientation in all our communities. Whatever corrupts the head also corrupts the body. Africa is a very large continent with over 3,000 languages and dialects. It is logical to think then that this great number of peoples called African also possess different belief systems. Yet there is also a sense that abantwana bezwekazi elibizwa nge-Afrika ngabantu bomndeni munye owehlukahlukene ngezigodi, imifula nezintaba nje kuphela. We are one large family separated merely by districts, rivers, and mountains, and therefore can be referred to as closer and more distant relatives. So singomakhelwane, singabantu bomndeni owodwa, thina abantu bengabani. So in their deeply significant book, Black Genesis, the prehistoric origins of ancient Egypt, which highlights the development of sophisticated calendar systems and astronomy by African people, Robert Boval and Thomas Brophy write, and I quote, I'm not frozen. No, I'm not frozen. It is unlikely to be a coincidence that such similar images are found at Gobero and Uwainat, which are places in the Northern Hemisphere. Uwainat. Could the Gobero people and the Uwainat or Khebir people have a common ancestry or origin? All the evidence points to the possibility that the Kifian and Tenere of Niger, you know Niger, the Napta player pastoralist, Abelusa Basenda Wenekti Napta player, and the pre-cattle and cattle headers of Gilf Kebir and Uwainat all had a common ancestral source in the Tibesti Enedi region of Chad. So he's basically explaining what abantu basenda wenetize in North Africa, bahlobene. And there's many signs, including the way they deal with their cattle and the way they deal with their calendar and their timekeeping. Bahlobene. But in the Western Hemisphere, we are told that these people are actually Arabs or they are white Africans. That's what we are told by Western anthropologists. You know, people from Tunisia, people from Libya, people from Algeria, people from Cameroon, not Cameroon, Morocco. We are told that they are not Bantu Africans. But this study is showing us that no, these people are actually Africans who came from the region around Chad. The evidence to date compels us to conclude that the original sub-Saharan black race that first settled in the Chad Highlands subsequently gave rise to the cattle people of the Lower Sahara, who later spawned the great Egyptian civilization when they finally migrated to the Nile Valley as the Sahara became drier and drier. Please flip over. Okay, so African people observed the stars, planets, and other astronomical events in order to make sense of or meaning of their lives on this earth. Our ancestors gave names to the stars, planets, constellations, and heavenly phenomena. I must just give an example here. When I was in Zimbabwe, I was asking some of the elders in some of the gatherings, the spiritual gatherings, what do you call that constellation? What do you call it constellation? So I gathered a couple of names of different constellations, but the main one that I found was what is called the Milky Way in English. They called it Msane Wanzo, which basically means Umshane Wendlo. So they say that the Milky Way is actually, the name of the Milky Way in Old Karanga languages is called the back, the spine or the back of the elephant. And then he went on to explain, which I will not go deeply into it here, but there's something to do with what they call the zodiac nowadays, because zodiac means basically giving animal names and animal shapes to the signs in the sky. So so this was not just a form of worship or primitive wonder. There is evidence that many African stories, including myths of origins, included celestial and heavenly adventures by our ancestors. And some of these stories developed into ceremonies, songs, and belief systems. What are the examples of Africa's emergent cosmologies? Here, I will give examples, but I also give examples towards the end of my presentation. So without delving into the details of African cosmologies, here are some examples of how ancient laws of nature have been transformed into forms of cultural or even traditional expressions, such as rituals and ceremonies, right? So when Nguni and Amakosikazi correct, so when the Nguni/Ngoni people enter a homestead, the women occupy the left side, while the men sit on the right side. This is not viewed as merely opposition, but a balancing of complementing of each other. This can also be reversed during ceremonial rites or rituals, such as during rainmaking, death, or magical practices. Magical practices, I mean making things to appear that may not appear in the physical, in the normal life, right? Magical practices, but there are many definitions of what magical practices mean. Some of these secrets are only revealed to mediums or diviners and abangoma during Intwaso, and some is revealed as Intwasa keeps going on with their life practicing. You do not, or Isangoma, or even any diviner, they learn these things through practice. You don't just know some of these things at the initiation school immediately. Umuntu keeps learning incrementally. So the Kwekwe, the Khoikhoi, the Kwemana people, and the San stone paintings also follow this pattern of placing male figures to the right while females are on the left. So when you observe the paintings, the cave paintings, you will find that it is so. The male figures are on the right while females are on the left. This is cosmological. In African art, female figurines were also typically painted a deeper shade of golden, of yellow or gold, from Egypt to Ethiopia to many different places, to such an extent that Western people were confused by Egypt when they see the women are yellow, but the men are dark. How come? It means these people were of mixed race. No. The yellow and the golden color of the women and children and some of the Neteru is symbolic, and I will explain as time goes by. So they were painted also red. And this is a color that was often associated with fertility, prosperity, and good harvests. Ancient cosmologies often transcend space and time, such as the Khoi, Khoi, and the sun legend of Tsui Khoa, who is known as the rain, storm, and thunder god. The home of this ancient Batwa, the Zamazulu called Khoi Khoi Batwa in general. Generalism, we call them Batwa. The home of this ancient Batwa deity was described as a beautiful easterly heavenly space filled with sunshine, and that his other name was Red Dawn, whom the Xhosa later called Umsobomvu. Until today, AmaXhosa, when they exclaim, Jonga Umsobomvu, which can be translated to mean, behold the merciful red, or the red, behold the red mist. This name also happens to belong to one of the most prominent kings of the Xhosa peoples, known as Inkosi Jonga Umsobomvu Kamaqoma, son of Nrika of the Khakhabe clan. For those who understand Xhosa history, please comment about this name and this particular clan. This brilliant strategist conducted many successful campaigns against British invading forces among the Amathole Mountains. Inkosi Maqoma was imprisoned for more than 20 years in Robben Island, along with his Khoi Khoi wife, known as Katye or Khatye. But what has this anti-colonial warrior king's story have to do with the cosmology? It is important to appreciate that African monarchs are not just rulers or overlords to their people. The African king and queen are representatives of heaven on earth. They are not only defenders of the land, protectors of the weak. You can flip over. protectors of the weak, and even diviners and providers and mediums in times of hardship. They are the living representations of the ancient order, such as when ACIPS-AFRIKA was known as the wounded magician. These stories of warrior kings who exist on earth as well as beyond the physical realm, and Ematongen, who are deified through struggle and victory. See, victory, to struggle and victory can be found throughout the entire African continent and even in South America and India. There are too many examples to name, so I will not go into it right now. There is an inseparable, screen, but anyway, let me not be distracted. There is an inseparable ceremonial bond between royals and diviners. This bond extends even to how seasons and heavenly entities such as Izinyandezulu are named, highlighting the importance of symbolic naming. In Africa, Through the Mists of Time, a book by Brenda Sullivan, one of the many disciples of Isanusi Busamazulumut, she writes, and I quote, Khaunab alias Haitsi Khabib is also revered for his ability to return to his people after every death and burial. To this day, some is vivan or stone pillars.
Hello, but Menzi, you're frozen. Or is it just me? Is anybody experiencing
I'm probably maybe
okay, back.
Are we back?
Yes, you're back.
Good. The screen is
Yes, we are
closed.
back. We are back. Sufrizile futhi Ntandulukwane.
We are gone, but Menzi. Let's just get, seems like Putmins is gotten dropped. Let's just give him a moment to reconnect. Okay, let's just give Putmenzi a moment to reconnect. Again, does anybody have any questions or comments while we wait for Putmenzi? Yes.
Ngicabanga ukuthi singamlinda ngoba kubukeka ngathi sonke besisajule kahle kule nkulumo abeyethula. Asimlinde bese eqedile-ke sesingafaka imibuzo nama-comments ngethoba.
All right. Hi. Yes. Yes. Siyabonga. I think check it and then God does just see if it's a computer issue or internet.
Makhosi ngiyaxolisa, my computer just went off. Can't regain internet access. I don't know why. But am I here? Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. You are in.
Ngiyaxolisa kunina nonke. Yo, I understand kwenzeke kanjani. So should I just continue or what?
Yes. Yes, just
Okay,
continue.
you can go to, I didn't number my pages. You can go to where the Nguni peoples name their seasons. There. So, you ready? So the Nguni peoples named their seasons into Asahlobo, the initiation of summer, Ikwindla, the autumn, Ubusika, the winter. I wanted to go more into that and why they were named such Ubusika, but I will skip along for time. From earliest times, the Egyptians divided their year to 360 days, of 360 days into 3 seasons, which they called inundation, winter, and summer. Not very different to the people in the south. We should note that it is astral bodies that mirror the cyclical phases of growth, abundance, and decay, or birth, lifetime, and death. Lastly, there are also 3 cycles of cosmic connection. People say that the moon regulates the women, the sun regulates the men, and the stars regulate the children. There is a whole lot of mythology that goes into that, which I think in our conference I would like to unpack a little bit more. I will do the very same paper, but expand a little deeper with more detail on how each different so-called tribe or each nation uses these phases and how to connect the sky and what is happening on the ground. Not in astrology, but in a very deeply astronomical African cosmological sense. So lastly, there are also 3 cycles of cosmic connection, right? So the symbolic resonance, which is the recognition of one's purpose, gifts, and talents, also called acknowledgement, to acknowledge something. Number 2, spiritual development, which is intwaso, learning through insight, experience, guidance, and instruction, which initiates you to your next phase, which is phase 3, which is astral traveling. Astral traveling is a metaphor to journeying into higher states of consciousness or energetic environments outside of the body. Other forms of this out-of-body experience include lucid dreaming, trance, through sound and dance, as well as deeper levels of meditation, which can be taught and which has been happening in Africa for many years and many centuries, but we forgot. All these have been performed and experienced by Abantu Bendabuko for countless generations. It is now time to remember them and add our own understanding to them as significant spiritual sciences. As I continue towards the conclusion, astral travel is described in poetic terms from the Gabon to ancient Egypt. In the so-called Book of the Dead, or rightly named Coming Forth by Day, titled in a chapter there called the Chapter of Changing into a Sacred Hawk, the soul or Ka of the deceased, Ani, because the book is written as a narrative by a person called Ani and his wife, who has died and is going through the different travels in the spiritual realm so that it can be born again in another realm, right? So Ani recites this incantation. He says, Ani says, quote, "I shall behold sacred things which are hidden. They shall be done unto me holy and hidden rites. I shall see what is there. My words shall make full the majesty of Shu." Shu is the spiritual body called Umoya, which separates the heavens and the earth. It's personified as the Neter called Shu. So my words shall make full the majesty of Shu, and they shall drive away evil occurrences. I, even I, am Heru who dwells in splendors. I have traveled over to the remotest, please flip over. I have traveled over to the remotest parts of heaven. My face is like that of the divine hawk. I have come forth from Tatu and have become, and I have seen the face. I have seen Osar, the divine bull, the black bull. But I will expand what that bull means. All this shows us that the ancient Africans were very capable of the many philosophical and metaphysical practices that are only becoming discovered by the New Age writers and self-help gurus today. These psychological or somatic healing practices were practiced in environments where people had free access to nature, as well as to the so-called mystery schools, which can still be found all over the planet and all over Africa today. In the last chapter, of neoliberal ideas about conservation, tradition, kings and healers. Now, I was going to go on and on about how people who are preaching conservation now have actually have killed so many animals, but nowadays they're preaching conservation to us. So in his very illuminating paper published on a publication called Anthropozoologica website from one of the Chinese universities, Luis Cordeiro Rodriguez defends the Amazulu nation's practice of ritual killing and burning of a strong black bull, a practice that goes back to the astrotheological practices of ancient Egypt, Nubia, and parts of West and Central Africa and Ethiopia. Here is what Rodriguez states in his abstract, and I quote his abstract here. Quote, "A new trend in political theory is to question whether cultural practices clash with moral concerns about animal welfare. On the one hand, there is widespread concern to protect cultural distinctiveness. On the other, cultural distinctiveness may mean treating animals in cruel ways. In this article, I articulate this debate using the case of the killing of a bull in the Ugweshwama practice from South Africa. By engaging with the literature on multiculturalism, I question whether Zulus in South Africa are entitled or not to practice the killing of a bull during Ugweshwama. I respond to this question affirmatively by defending that for reasons of autonomy, moral loss, and legal consistency, Zulus are entitled to continue their practice," end quote. This is written by Luis Cordeiro Rodriguez from the Department of Philosophy in Sun Yat-sen University in some name I can't pronounce, a Chinese university. The paper was published in 2019. So Rodriguez concludes his introduction this way. "This idea leads me to my second point, what I consider to qualify as vital human interests. In this article, these include interest in economic resources, job opportunities, living according to one's conscience, and being an autonomous agent." This part is very important. He quotes Berry in 2001. This part is important because I'm speaking about astronomy, I'm speaking about spirituality, yet at the same time we are speaking about land, and land also brings up economic questions of autonomy. Do we live according to our own means, or are we living according to the means of others? Are we dependent on others, especially foreigners, for our welfare, even our spirituality? I will expand on it during the conference. He continues and says, "There may be more interest, but for the current purpose, it is only necessary to stipulate these. Finally, it is important to mention that I do not address philosophical arguments about intrinsic value of cultures. There is arguments about culture being protected because it is valuable in itself. Will not be addressed in this paper. That will not be addressed in this paper. Rather, the arguments that I address here are those focusing on the instrumental value of culture. Culture valuable only as means to something else, such as friendship, equality, autonomy, and so forth." And I end quote. And then it is worth keeping in mind once again that the practice of Ugweshwama has to do with the ritual of the coronation of kings. In other cultures, the black bull was not killed, but the king-to-be leaps over it or stabs it in order to drink its warm blood while it is still alive. This is still practiced by other Nguni cultures, which I will not mention right now. I will mention later when I go into detail at the conference. The practices vary, but the key symbols remain the same. In ancient Egypt or Kemet, the black bull symbolizes the creator deity known as Ptah, as well as Ausa, who all represent fertility and power. Ptah himself is known as the one who created human beings from clay, he is depicted as the black bull. Among the various solar cults in the African continent, the black bull is also associated with the power of the sun. The Nile Valley traditions from Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt stated that the black bull was created by a ray of light that came from the heavens. And in my conclusion, which is not there in the paper, so you can turn off the paper. In my conclusion, I conclude this way. So there are technologies inspired by African folklore and innovations. And some of these technologies exist in the medical field. There is cosmic resonance that we can learn from Abantu, where in cosmic resonance basically means environmental harmony in the home and in architecture. The way our homes are built should also harmonize with our environment. And this is something that has been practiced by Abantu from Senegal to Cameroon to Amazulu, the way we built with cane, we built with straw, we built with natural elements and mud also. The Western people are coming into knowledge now with, oh, if you built with mud, in fact, it's not primitive. It's actually environmentally sustainable, the oxygen there, the coolness, the warmness of the house and all that. So there is dance and other forms of art therapy and grounding and walking barefoot in the land. It's becoming a trend now, but it's something that Abantu have done for many years. Inkosi Umlilwana, for example, Lushaga, ensured that his warriors take off their sandals and walk barefoot, and they would walk great distances barefoot. That was both a spiritual something, but also a strategic something. The ancient and modern forms of the zodiac are inspired also by African history, as I've already maintained, the black bull and many other, the lion's paw and many other, and the hawk. All the zodiac that we read about today was not just an Egyptian thing, it's something that is inspired by African traditions everywhere. African space stations, including Pan-African Space Station and Chimurenga Chronic, are publications and research that is done by Africans based also on observance of space. Heirloom seed savings, agroecology, all inspired by Africa. Holistic education and pluriversity, I mentioned. Sonic explorations of interstellar dimensions, such as ancient future compositions and improvisations by people like Wadada Leo Smith, San Ra, Nduduzo Makatini, Thandi Ntuli, Nogu Sademima, and a tribe called Quest, the hip hop group. So all these are basically technologies which are not necessarily written about, but compositions that exist that show that Africa does not only produce knowledge in written form, but produces knowledge in movement, in sound, and in architecture and cosmic resonance. I submit.
Siyabonga, Putmenzi, so much for that very informative presentation. I'd like to ask if there's anybody that has any questions, any comments before we move on to Baba Beni. Who's got their hand up? Please go ahead.
Ngiphinde ngibingelele ngigriya ngokubuya njengomshanelo ngipolisi, kodwa bekufanele ngimxhume uphaphile galagwala laphaya uNdlovu kaKhubonye. Ngithi nje mntandulo kwanomkhulu, ngiyakuthokozela lokhu ukuba uyihlakaze kanje futhi uyichaze ngokweyigaba zayo nangokumsuka yezinto. Siyakubonga lokhu, siyakuthokozela. Akwandi ukukhanya kwelanga, ngiyathoba.
Siyabonga. Akwande. Anyone else? Question, comment, anything?
Okay, yebo. Koko Nompilo.
Yebo, siphinde sibingelele. Siyabonga babenzi ngepresentation ejule kangaka nehlinzeke kangaka. Uthinte indaba yama-star signs. Khona oseke wayibeka ukuthi bengakayifundi kahle, bengakajuli ngayo kuyona le ndaba yokuthi kuthiwa njengoba sisebenzisa lama-star signs esiwasebenzisayo ngokuthi mhlambe i-Pisces ingo-March no-February, ukuthi kahle kahle in our southern hemisphere ukuthi kanjalo kuyi-opposite. Ngokushiwo kuthiwa thina sisebenzisa in Northern Hemisphere plan yakhona lapho kuma star sign. So uthola ukuthi eyethu kahle kahle iPisces iVirgo ngokomthetho uma uyishaya uyenza i-opposites from northern to southern hemisphere. Angazi noma ulwazi olunjalo unalo yini mhlawumbe usukusichazela kabanzi.
Hayi noma ngeke ngande. Yebo kuyiqala nje omunye on it. Hayi baba uAmalek is azolukhulu ancient star system. Like to make it more.
But Menzi, you sounding ngathi ukude kabi nje awuzwakali.
Okay, awuthi ngishintshe. Ngizama ukucisha imic yaku computer. Okay, ngiyazwakala manje.
Yeah, kodwa khona feedback.
How about now?
Isakhona feedback.
Technology. Ngilahla ekugcineni. Okay, I'm gonna log off from here.
Okay.
No, maybe
gonna
get
log
your
off,
phone or
just
there's
be-
something.
So I was saying that bakhona abanye abafowethu that can comment about the issues of the zodiac, who I believe have more knowledge. I saw that there's my brother Zamalek Gizala. If he feels like commenting, he can comment. But I would like to agree with Nompilo about the issue of misalignment with the so-called astronomical system. That's why I mentioned it in this presentation. We are basically, even the names of these zodiacs, the name of these horoscopes, they are misnomers when it comes to our ancient African traditions. There is no, we do not have the so-called Virgo per se. You know, I know that a lot of our African spiritualists and cosmological people, they like to make reference to these as a living kind of astronomy. I was going to go deep into talking about the differences between tropical astronomy and sidereal astronomy. But when you look at the research on these very same things, when they're speaking about astrology, they are talking about Indian astrology, they're talking about Babylonian astrology. But even in the research, I was looking at my app last night. I was looking at the star Sirius, the star system, the constellation of Sirius, and the Canis Major, and what they call Virgo and Venus, Indotsagusa and all that. And I'm looking at all these things, and I looked into the search button, and it was showing me all research coming from they had everything but Africa. Let me just put it like that in a summary. They had everything but Africa. So basically they're saying African people do not have names for these things. They do not observe the stars. We do not know how to create calendars, and we don't have our own time. Our sense of time depends on Western, Eastern, and everything other but us, right? So Vele, even the zodiac is basically, even the one in Dendera, in ancient Kemet, in Dendera, in the temple of Heteru, is corrupted. It's a corrupted kind of calendar. It's a calendar that was stolen by some people, which empire, and then they added their own signs onto the Dendera calendar. Even if you go there in Kemet, you see it. It's okay. This one is ancient. This one is from the Ptolemaic era. So Ubukhosi Ptolemy, which is the Roman empire, added their own stuff to this calendar. So what we get is a Greco-Roman corruption of what was originally African, like everything has been corrupted. So I said I will not expand too much. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to speak about that. I was being impega nje uZamalek because I know he has knowledge of these things. If he can speak, please. But otherwise, we can move on. Noma inkosi yelanga naye mhlawumbe mayithanda ingakhuluma about this particular part. But I mean, I know that it's all corrupted. I don't follow the stars, especially the tropical zodiac. I would rather follow the sidereal because it deals with southern hemisphere skies. Yebo Nkosi Mpenge.
Intandulukano omkhulu cha iqiniso ngiyakufakazela okunye sekucorrupted. Ngingathanda ke uMakhosi esiqale ngaye lapha ya esakhuluma nje ngemimoya neyasemanzini ukuthi ezinye izinto fanele phela siyi-verify. Eminye imimoya idinga ukuthi ulandelele umuntu umhlambulule agezeke ukuze akhulume into ehlambulukile negezekile. konke lokho kufanele siku-understande ukuze sikwazi ukubuyisa into eqondile ngendlela eqondile. Ngicabanga ukuthi lokho engingaku-eda uma ngibuka nesikhathi ngikolise ngibuka nosuku. Ngiyathemba ukuthi kuyona yokugcina le dialogue sizoyijwayela nje into ey'njengalezi ukuze sikwazi ukukhava as much as possible. Ngiyathokoza.
No, siyabonga Nkosi Mbeki. If there's this Sibongile, maybe Sibongile wants to comment. Or not. I'm allowing Umkhulu Baba Giza has raised his hand. You can unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Osheni. Njani? Ngiyazwakala.
Uzwakala kahle.
Malusha lundu labuwa mbulu ya bodo yante. Hey, I'd like to say it is a great, nice interview and nice presentation. I mean to say that I had with a lot of collaboration about spiritual awareness and cultural, what we call revolution. As far as we are in a cultural revolution where we countercept or supra culture, and the astrology, it was so beautiful. Cases when and its importance, because we do get the geomythology being taught by Umkhulu Baba Credo-Mutu and some of the Sanusis, where they explain stories about Abokongi, Ngungi, Deleke, Mupelefelu, all those Limuhale, as far as others know Muhale as Mahalis, all these geomythological legends and giants. And when we go to astrotheology, truly, Nkomazi, Nkomontuli, or Nkomezulu has been the main center of identifying the Milky Way, even in the Egyptology, the Kemet system. So I don't have much to say rather than when we have a chance to present different ideas on the same aspect of understanding the Milky Way and the weights that were used by our traditional knowledge system, like the Dogon, the Damgara, the Nguni, because the Ngunis, we can find them within the Tagara, as you have alluded in some of the presentation about the family being Umunye. We can get that same tradition of the Munye within the Tagara family system, and they talk about the Nguni being one of their family line. And these are historical things that are not publicized in the public, but being taught in the traditional system. So it does go to each and every presentation that there's a necessity of decolonization in its holistic form, where we need to decolonize our astrological thinking, our physical thinking, and our biochemistry, and a lot of things, because there's a quest of abstracting necessary compounds in these herbal plants that we utilize so that we can cure a lot of disease and innovate human psyche. And how can we do that? We can only do that by collaboration and collective understanding and the knowledge of the holistic macrocosmos, microcosmos, and mesocosmos of our cultural perspective as African abantu. Thank you. Ndosho. Maluja.
Sibonga kakhulu. Ukusho konke Nkosi, ngiyabonga. But we will invite you for the conference. We will give you a formal invitation for next year's conference, or even if our last workshop for the year. But we will talk on the side about that. But we give thanks. Walia?
It's 2:00 for Minzi. I just think we should give Baba Benia some time to close, and then if those who want to carry on with the discussion, we can do that. And those who need to go can go. We did start at about 10 past, a little bit late because people were struggling to get in as we have external guests. So let's give Baba about some time to do his presentations, and then we can close, and if we need to carry on, we can carry on, those who have the time to stay behind. Does that sound okay with everyone?
Great to me.
Okay. All right. Baba Benny, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, and I think I send you the materials to upload for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, after listening to what all these presenters, dear presenters, have actually given us, before I come to what I'm about to, present as the end note.
Okay.
Let me use this. Let me use this quotation. Yeah, go to the previous one. Let me use this quotation from a Brazilian economist called Max Neef. Maybe some of you might have heard of him. And he quoted Jeremy Nadler saying that science is as much an inner path of spiritual development as it is a discipline aimed at accumulating knowledge of the physical world. It involves not only rigorous training of our faculties of observation and thinking, but also of other human faculties which can attune us to the spiritual dimension that underlies and interpenetrates the physical. Faculties such as feeling, imagination, and intuition. Then he said, we have never in all of our existence accumulated more knowledge than during the last 100 years. We are celebrating the apotheosis of reason, but in the midst of such a splendid celebration, we suddenly have the feeling that something is missing. Then he came to say that we will realize that knowledge is not the road that leads to understanding, because the path of understanding is on the other shore and requires a different navigation. We will then be aware that we can only attempt to understand that of which we become a part. That understanding is the result of integration, while knowledge has been the result of detachment. The understanding is holistic, while knowledge is fragmented. In fact, if we look at what Nietzsche has talked about concerning knowledge and understanding, we realize that what Western knowledge came with is just knowledge. And so we can have knowledge without understanding, which is the predominant situation that we are in on this planet at the moment. And in that case, we begin to realize that at the end of having all the knowledge that is a pool of knowledge that is growing and growing every day, yet there's something missing. And this is what I feel that we can find it that in Africa. Whatever is missing can be found in Africa. Understanding comes from the deep within. Knowledge is the outer part of what? Our head. But then how to bridge the two is the problem of our world today, whereby some people are marginalized and others also feel superior. And feeling superior based on your knowledge is defeated, because from Neve, you can't have knowledge without understanding. And understanding without knowledge also doesn't go. And therefore, everything should be holistic. And of course, In Africa, what we believe in is systems. Uh, Reductionism came from the West or European in its nature. And today, in our world, we have seen the effect of reductionism. And people are rushing to the starving world, not only Africa, but to Asia. Why? Because we hold the crucible of understanding, whereby we are able to marry knowledge and then reflection within in order to make sense that transcends the material realm of existence. Today, we have a lot of young people who are actually rising and have been challenged to look back and look for their culture and also their traditions and their values, because they couldn't be satisfied with imported knowledge. And the saddest thing I keep saying most times is that it is sad to see that Africa, we have to be taught God, which shouldn't be the case. We have to be taught about certain things that are common sense. These are common knowledge, and their knowledge, they are not understanding. So, as we fold up this session, we are still going to have other sessions into next year. And let me move to the other paper, please, if you will change it for me. Yeah. Yeah. So after listening to all that our brother and sisters have given us today, let us come to the end with this ceremonial greetings. Let me read it. Sanibona and beloved elders, callers, healers, custodians of culture, and seekers of wisdom. I greet you not merely with words, but with breath, ancestral breath. The breath that stirred the reeds of the Nile, that whispered through the baobab tree, that danced in the fire circles of our forebears. I greet you in the name of the sacred rivers, Utukela, Nile, Congo, whose waters remember what we forget. Of course, there are many other rivers that we can mention, and they are all part of our existence. Of course, they take care of us. I greet you in the name of the mountain spirits, Ukahamba, Kilimanjaro, Aburi, who stand as silent witnesses to our becoming. And I greet you in the name of ACIPS, Africa Center for Intangible Phenomena Studies, whose vision is not merely academic, but ancestral, ceremonial, and revolutionary. We gather here not to, let me just move. We gather here not to conclude, but to consecrate, to seal this sacred dialogue with intention, with invocation, and with intergenerational fire. As our cardinal goal is to strive at some framework to enhance the decolonization process, we may borrow from late Professor Eskia Bahlele, who wrote, "Find ways of decolonizing the mind. Decolonization should be a therapy." This wasn't just political rhetoric. It was a call to heal the psychic exile caused by colonial education system that alienated Africans from our own cultures, languages, and cosmology. In this spirit, our collaboration will Center for Education, Learning and Teaching at DUT, that is Durban University of Technology, emerges from a profound and urgent necessity experienced by a segment of students and staff. They are on a quest to discover purpose and significance in an environment that has long rendered their experience and identities invisible, leaving them to grapple with feelings of exclusion and neglect. Once this task aligns with our vision at ACIPS, we are ready to collaborate with this esteemed institution in pursuing the journey of Sankofa. Now, on the vision statement of ACIPS as a ceremonial heat, ACIPS was born not in a boardroom, it was born in the dreaming of elders, in the quiet resolve of those who refuse to let African knowledge be archived without breath. We are not just a center, we are ceremonial heat, a place where knowledge is not extracted but evoked, where research is not detached but relational. We are the intangible. Dreams, callings, rituals, names is treated not as superstition, but as sacred data. Our vision is to liberate African epistemologies, not as relics of the past, but as living technologies. Technologies of healing, governance, innovation, and rich spiritual continuity. We do not merely study phenomena, we summon them. We do not merely document culture, we dance it, chant it, translate it, and transmit it. Now, let me quickly take us through the coming conference in next year, April, at least mid-April, on the theme. Next year, 2026 conference theme, which is African spirituality, the past, present, and the future in the fourth industrial revolution epoch. This is not a slogan. It is a summon, a drumbeat, a call to rise, a call for practical commitment to reshape curricula and research that honor African rituals and values, ensuring that future generations carry forward their rich heritage. Ultimately, this theme champions the idea that African spirituality can coexist with contemporary technology, positioning it as essential to the future. The past, we remember the cosmologies of our forebears. The drum calls, the rain ancestral calendar. These were not primitive, they were precise, mathematical, metaphysical. Our ancestors charted a passage or passage of time by the rhythmic dance of moon cycles, weaving together the fabric of their lives with the luminous glow of the night sky. They healed comets with the soothing power of song, their melodies resonating with the essence of the soul. In their governance, they connected with the spirit world, drawing wisdom and guidance from forces beyond visible, creating a harmonious balance between the earthly and the earthly. Their knowledge was coded in proverbs, poetry, in the silence between chants. Present, which will lead me to going to the end, we find ourselves in the pivotal crossroad of a moment of profound reflection and transformation. Our stirring slumber.
slowly and awakening to the rich tapestry of our heritage. Our youth, vibrant and visionary, dream in the melodic rhythm of isiZulu, weave intricate lines of code in the expressive nuance of isiXhosa, and embrace the art of healing in the soul tongues of Sesotho. We are not merely reclaiming what was lost. We are refusing the divine into every day, merging the sacred with the secular in harmonious dance. We are embarking on a purposeful journey in re-indigenization, our education system, not as a fleeting trend, but as a fundamental truth that resonates deeply within our collective consciousness. The fourth industrial revolution should not emerge as a new form of colonization, but rather serve as a vibrant canvas upon which we can paint our future. We must etch our sacred geometries into the very fabric of AI, weaving our cultural narrative into the immutable threads of blockchain. Our ancestral rituals should find expression in the dance of robotics, merging the spiritual with the mathematical. African spirituality is far from incompatible with technology. In fact, it is the original blueprint of innovation. It pulses through our veins as the software of the soul, guiding us towards a harmonious existence. It is the algorithm crafted by ancestors, a profound code that captures the essence of our being. It embodies the biometric of belonging and connecting us to our roots and to other shared tapestry. So, I call you to action. Let us not leave this workshop with only notes and recordings. Let us leave with commitment to continuing this project, to build curricula that invoke spirit, not just theory, to create research framework that honor rituals, not just metrics, to design institutions that remember, not just reform, to mentor with ancestral accountability, not just academic rigor, to fund ceremonial ethics, not just strategic alignment. Let us be ceremonial architects of the future. Let us be ancestral engineers of the present. Let us be spiritual technologists of the past. And then finally, as we close this sacred gathering, I'll call upon the names of those who walked before us. I call upon the wisdom of Makulu, of Baba, of Gogo. I call upon the rivers and the stars, the bones and the breath. May this work ripple across generations. May this vision be carried in the womb of our daughters, the dream of our sons, and the strategies of our institutions. Let the fire never die. Let the drum never fall silent. Let the spirit of ACIPS, CELTDUT, which didn't come, guide us through the fog of forgetting into the clarity of becoming. Ingia Bonga, may the ancestors walk with you. May the bones remember. May the breath return. I am done. Thank you. Yeah, over to you.
Siyabonga Mkhulu, thank you so much for your presentation, for putting us into context of what we are actually trying to do. And this work is I always say that this work is lifelong work for all of us who are involved. Once you decide to take on this journey, it's lifelong work. We will always take 10 steps ahead and fall back 20 and move 50 steps ahead. It's because we are still trying to piece together certain things. We are still trying to remember certain things, and reassemble, reconstruct, deconstruct. So it's a back and forth relationship we have with our indigenous selves, our indigenous knowledge, and with this decolonizing and decoloniality. But at least we have a pathway through this partnership and how we can move forward. And we are very grateful for your guidance as well. And we look forward to the conference. We will be posting about the dates and all of that a little bit later on in the year. We're excited to hear. We've heard some of the presentations here today. I'm sure there'll be more refined as well at the conference itself. But we'll also put the call out soon to everybody in the DUT space and our larger community, UKZN. I know our dream is to really come together as one with different communities, which are the universities around, the students in the universities, the communities around, and to highlight the practitioners that we have in those spaces that may not be in academic spaces, but to recognize and document their work. And that includes some of the people who have presented here as well again today. So we thank you to everybody who has stayed on up until this time, who joined us for this webinar. We are very grateful for you coming through, and we hope that we managed to learn something and that we will grow together. Thank you to Budmenzi for being a wonderful co-facilitator with the host, as always. And thank you to all the presenters that came through. And I will end here. I will not hold you more. Does anybody else have anything to say? I see Babu. Yes.
Nkulu has a hand.
To say. Nkulu, you can speak up.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Please, people can visit our website and then they will find a lot of materials, and we are here to build more. And we with the conference, we want to institute an African journal that actually looks at African spirituality.
Yes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I forgot to say that I actually put a link to your website in the chat. I think when Budmenzi was speaking about it earlier on when he was introducing, I did put the link in the chat to the website. I also put in an evaluation form for people to fill in. It's the last thing that's in the chat. So we know we can get feedback, but I think I'll also be sending them by email because I think some people have left as well. So I'll send both the website and the forms. Baba Benny, can you send me directly the link to where people can upload their papers they would like to publish under ACIPS? Remember the last time you spoke about that space where that you were creating?
Yeah. In fact, we are going to upgrade the website, but at the moment there are emails there. And then they can send to you also. If they know your email, they can send to you. You will forward to us. But there are also emails at the website. There are two websites, one on publication and then one also which is like it shows what we do. So
is the one on publication inside the ACIPS website, just so I can direct people, because I've picked up that we assume that people know when you say here's the link that they know what we're talking about when they don't. So I see a few hands coming up. I think it was Gogo Ntombi. Please speak up.
Molweni, I'm not sure if I am the Ndombi being referred to. I am a Ndombi too.
Yes, it was you.
Kuhle,
Sorry,
kuhle. No, all good. I just wanted to express great thanks and appreciation for Msebenzi Omhle and all the work and all the generous contribution and sharing everyone has brought to today. It's been a very rich and very grounding, I think, and really just wonderful to find this community of people already hard at this work. I just want to flag that the chat function has not been accessible because you've made mention of links and sharing of presentations in there. So I just want to know what is the easiest path to being part of this as a database, being able to access the presentations from today and still
are you
be able
are you in
to
the okay? Sorry, Kokontombi, are you in the WhatsApp any of the WhatsApp groups we have for ACIPS?
no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay, because
So
I was going to now post there. The reason why I don't know if I enrolled you in the chat. I just want to ask Putmenzi, as a person who is enrolled in this MS team, can you see the chat?
No, I didn't see, but even I myself, I tried to look for the chat, but I didn't see a chat.
Okay, hold on. I just wanted to oops, where's this MS Teams Parliament? Sorry, so
the
just
chat was
as a
really. I tried myself earlier.
you also tried to, okay, maybe it's because or you're external, because some of the people who are in DUT, they joined, but they were not in the MS team, so they couldn't see the chat. So when I enrolled them, they saw the chat. So it means that it's I think the problem is that you're external. So what I'm going to do is the links that I have, I was going to send them into the ACIPS WhatsApp group.
The Sacred Dialogue group.
Yeah, okay. The Sacred Dialogues group, is that way? Well, I was gonna send it to all the groups that we're in.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm just wanted
Okay.
the Sacred Dialogues group to be the one that's dealing with just the workshops. So if Ndombi can send to, how does she share? She can share her email or her number here, and then I will reach out to her. I will make sure we reach out to her.
Okay.
Or I can share mine. You can take my number. You can drop me a WhatsApp. Can you take it right now?
Yeah, I can do that now.
065
Yeah.
510
Yeah.
3630. That's for anyone. You can drop me a WhatsApp and then we'll add you to the Sacred Dialogues chat. So that's where we're going to make announcements for the next upcoming things and whatever else, and including some of the I want Baba and Penny first to see our presentations, and then we can share. Maybe we can share them next week or share them a little later.
Presentations are all on the website. You go to documents. They go to documents.
Okay.
Then they find the presentations there.
Okay, wonderful. I thought
Or
maybe
they
you'll
go
touch
to
them up.
events, rather events.
I thought you'd touch
ACIPS
them up.
events. There was a link there to the documents. Some
No
of
problem.
them.
Meanwhile, whoever has this number that I've just given can be part of the Sacred Dialogues group, just that group, because I don't want us to have many groups. There's an executive group, there's an events, there's a spiritual power group, which we are starting. And then people who are in the Sacred Dialogues who are interested in spiritual power, we're also going to put them there because we want to make sure that we have days where we just look at different spiritual systems and discuss it there. We won't discuss politics, please. We won't discuss other things. We won't discuss Mkwanazi, even though some people think you see him as a messianic figure, spiritual. We won't discuss all that. We will just focus on African spiritual systems and how we can meditate together, do all these things together. Yeah, so I will share. For now, everyone will go to the Sacred Dialogues group, Makos.
All right, so I will post all the links in there as well. I just want to let you that I'm going to stop recording so that Whoever wants to speak now
Thank
afterwards.
you, Sister
free,
Barbara. Thank you very much.